Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story, a tale of gaslighting and attending a company-owned, made-up management school. The second story, son of wealthy parents mistaken for burglar by nosy neighbors. The third story, HOA, your house spoils the aesthetics of the neighborhood. OP, get off my property. We don't belong to the HOA. The first story is, I quit my soul-sucking management job with one of the big evil grocery chains. Today I put in my unofficial notice that I'm leaving my gig as a retail assistant manager at one of the big 3 grocers in Canada. Hint, it has the word obey in the name. Anyway, goodbye forever, you horrible green bee. They like to throw around the slogan, we all deserve compliments. No, you do not deserve compliments, and you will not be getting any in this post. I was pretty unhappy for a while, but kinda running on autopilot, and honestly found myself too tired and busy to even really recognize how burnt out I was. A series of events in the last couple months led to me finally just snapping and rage applying anywhere I could. A few weeks into my search, I landed a job as a sales rep for a smaller local business that handles supply for restaurants and food services. I start in 2 weeks. I'm so stoked to work with people that aren't spineless profiteering ghouls. I didn't hate my job entirely, but I hated how disingenuous it made me. I hate that I was expected to kiss so many A's and spew the fakest, most forced toxic positivity. I was constantly having to put in extra time, and yet, my best efforts would never have been good enough for these clowns. It honestly broke me. I got sucked into the job because I had worked for the company for the entirety of my high school and university years. I've been there for a literal decade. I enjoyed the flexibility and the wage and benefits were good thanks to the union. I graduated university in the fall of 2020, 6 months into the pandemic, and I had literally 0 job prospects. I thought it was in my best interest to stay put as the grocery industry remained intact, and almost everyone I knew was laid off or precariously employed at that time. I stayed. I secured a full-time position. I got into their bogus management training program. I thought I would do whatever I could to build my resume and just assess as time went on. I deferred from a master's program. I wasn't really committed to going back to school. I just liked the idea and kept working because rent and bills. Surely I moved up within the company pretty quickly. I got into their fake school for nonsense grades about BS company policy. And sure, I was making pretty alright money for someone just fresh out of school with limited job prospects. But I paid for it dearly in my well-being and self-esteem taking an effing beating. Here's a small recap of the events in the last year and a half that led me to finally deciding to leave the expansive Green Bee grocery chain. Got into their fake management school. Fake management school turns out to be a wildly disorganized SH show, and gets delayed for 4 months due to the Omicron outbreak. It's online. I got written up for coming to work with COVID. I felt 100% fine that morning and I had a bit of a scratchy throat at 3 p.m. Went downhill fast around 8 p.m. that night, but F me, I guess. Was criticized by my bosses relentlessly. I was made to sit through some impromptu professional development meetings where I was made to feel so effing stupid and disorganized, and sent me down a bit of a spiral that made me feel the need to aggressively treat and pathologize my ADHD, and just really beat myself up. I got promoted. Hard work really does pay off, I guess. And I am sent to a store that is notorious for having no labor. Surprise, we have no labor. I spend most of my day in a check stand. My assistant gets promoted because she doesn't like the location, and people can pull strings for her because her dad works in another department backstage. Do I get a replacement? No. My workload effectively doubles. They decide to launch a new royalty program with 3 weeks notice, almost 6 months ahead of schedule. Everything must be grand opening ready because we'll get visits from head office. I give up days off, work 12-hour days, cancel appointments. Do we get a visit from head office? Absolutely not. I have an assessment for fake manager school the week I had 19 people off sick with COVID. I'm talking DEFCON level 5 crisis. The store would have looked better if it were on fire. How am I supposed to be preparing for an assessment when I'm just trying to have enough staff on hand to keep the store open? Top brass knows this and proceeds with the assessment anyway, because they have a tight schedule. They don't. I was told they'd give me another assessment in about 6 weeks' time. Did it happen? Nope. We were affected by IT issues. They weren't IT issues. We were hacked, because despite being one of the largest, wealthiest nationwide companies, we cannot invest in tech that is newer than Windows XP. We are not functional for like a month. People are moving their holidays. There's conference calls every single day. There's very little information being provided to us. Around this time, I get a letter in the mail saying my dental benefits had been terminated. Huh, that's weird. I give the benefits program a call. They say that I hadn't worked enough hours to maintain my benefits. How can that be possible if I work full-time? Turns out it was a clerical error when my information had been changed backstage at payroll. They fixed the clerical error and reinstate my benefits, which is great, but I had to cancel an appointment with the oral surgeon to deal with my painful wisdom teeth. 2 weeks before Christmas, I get a paycheck that has been docked by nearly $1,100 for no apparent reason, and with no warning given at all. I reach out to my HRBP and demand some kind of answer. No answer. I reach out to HR call center. They tell me it was an error caused by the IT blackout, and I would be reimbursed. My HRBP reaches out finally to clarify that I would in fact not be reimbursed, because I had accidentally taken 2 weeks of paid vacation that I was not entitled to, but it somehow ended up in my accrued vacation hours bank. So when I got an email from her to remind us to use up any remaining annual vacation before December 31st, I did. Do I get an apology or any kind of recourse? No. My district operator comes to the store, but he can't wait 5 minutes for me to get out of a check stand. The customer comes first, you know, so I can talk to him face to face. I work myself ragged into the holiday season, exhausted and broke. I spent most of Christmas and Boxing Day sleeping because I was so bagged from the days before at work. We did $100,000 in sales on the 23rd alone, effectively 4 times more than our daily average. I F up my knee-pushing shopping carts on Christmas Eve, because once again, we have no staff, so we resort to managers having to push carts every GD day. Do we have those power cart pusher things to make things a little easier? Nope, too expensive. Right after New Year's, I'm told that my performance in fake manager school was unsatisfactory. I'm given a crock of nonsense reactions, including that they felt as though my assessment, you know, the one where I had half my staff off sick, should have been better. I politely remind my district operator that I was actually supposed to have another assessment, which never materialized. I am told point blank, you weren't going to be assessed again, and not even acknowledging that he literally failed to schedule that second assessment. I guess I'm supposed to eat SH then. I learn I'm getting transferred and demoted for a couple months, 6 maximum. They say the store will really benefit from my merchandising skills. I learn I'm going from $23.45 an hour back down to $19. Union rules, not ours, they say. I arrive at my new store, bitter as hell and determined to find a new job ASAP, where I learn that we're scheduled to host a showcase in a few months' time. These showcases are super labor intensive and require all hands on deck. Essentially, it's a trade show where the store gets all gussied up and these massive displays are made. Incredibly wasteful, by the way. Shrink goes through the roof. The big SH walks around and ooh and ah, and it's done in one day. One big stressful dog and pony show. I put 2 plus 2 together. I was sent to this store to be another set of hands for the trade show. They threw together some total BS reasons to demote me just so they could put me in an unfilled unionized position at this store so I could help them with my merchandising skills. More work for less money. I say goodbye, kiss my A, I quiet quit and take long lunches and watch TikTok all day. And now I'm starting a new chapter. Goodbye to these cheap, lousy morons. This is why nobody wants to work. See you never. Hey there, it sounds like you really stuck it to the man, or should I say the Green Bee grocery chain. I couldn't help but chuckle at your witty commentary on the disingenuousness of corporate culture, and I'm glad you found a new job that values authenticity and integrity. Your story of the company's mismanagement, disorganization, and lack of care for employees is sadly all too common, but your resilience in the face of it is inspiring. It takes guts to quit a job, especially after investing so much time and effort into it, but it's clear that you made the right choice for your well-being. Good luck with your new job, and may your soul never again be sucked dry by corporate shenanigans. The second story is, I am allowed on the property. You are not. This happened just this last week, and is the only time that I've ever had the police called on me. So my parents live in an absolutely amazing house with a large amount of lakefront. The neighbors' homes are not nearly as nice, but in general it's a very wealthy neighborhood. My brother lives with my parents, and they all drive nice new vehicles. My mom drives a Porsche Cayenne, my dad has a Subaru Ascent, and my brother has a Toyota Tacoma and a BMW M3. I drive a 2001 Honda Civic which has several dents and scratches. It looks incredibly out of place in the neighborhood, and especially so at my parents' place. So I stopped by in the middle of the day to grab some stuff from my parents' place. We're in the process of selling our home, and are storing a bunch of stuff in their garage. So I was rummaging around in the garage looking through the bins until I found what I was looking for. My GameCube controller and USB adapter. and I loaded up my car and got ready to leave. When I looked out, I saw that the gate was completely blocked by a truck and a car that I did not recognize. So I hopped back out of the car and approached, and I was told by the older woman and younger man that the cops had been called. I asked why, and was told that I was caught in the act of burglary. I tried to explain that this was my parents' place and that I was just grabbing some of my stuff, but they said they have seen my parents' kid and know what he drives. So I went back to my car and called my dad and told him that I needed him to come to his place, because his neighbors think I was breaking in. So he was on his way. Took maybe 15 minutes for the cops to show up, and they beat my dad by a couple of minutes. I had no issues explaining what was going on, and they were definitely on my side. My dad showing up cleared the rest of it up. The cops said that I could press charges for false imprisonment, and asked my dad if he wanted to press charges for trespassing, but we chose not to because of the headaches that would clearly cause for my parents. They had already had several run-ins with these neighbors with them using equipment without permission, which is why they had been told not to return to the property by police in the past. You were caught red-handed. You stole your own stuff. Who would have thought a Honda Civic would turn out to be so suspicious in a wealthy neighborhood? I guess it's a good thing the cops showed up, or you could have gotten away with a valuable GameCube controller and USB adapter. All kidding aside, it's a good thing your dad showed up to clear things up. Maybe next time you should rent a fancy car to blend in with your rich neighbors. And if I were you, I'd sue. And the last story is telling the HOA to eat A. I literally found this sub 2 seconds ago by accident, and I just knew there'd be someone who'd appreciate this story. This happened about 3 years ago. I was living with my dad before moving out. This is in Central Texas, a little north of Austin on a country road. My family had lived there for almost 30 years long before any thought of a neighborhood even existed. We have our 2 gate posts painted purple, which means keep out, for anyone who doesn't know. And we kept the gate dummy locked to avoid unwanted guests. The most recent neighborhood at that time had a rather strict HOA, that luckily up until that point we had the pleasure of never dealing with, as we lived 2 miles down the road from the back entrance to said neighborhood. One day on my day off while my dad was at work, I heard a knock at the door and looked through the peephole to see a woman in her mid-40s, dressed like a businesswoman. I assumed it was someone offering to buy the property as we live on 20 acres. I opened the door and she said, "I'm blah 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 with the neighborhood HOA. I just wanted to speak to the property owner about the purple posts. It doesn't really match the aesthetic of the neighborhood." I was effing lost. I started to talk and then was left speechless. And this bee says, "Can you speak?" in the most C tone I've ever heard. And I said, "Lady, purple post means keep out, and that gate was dummy locked. I don't know how long you've been in Texas, but your actions in the past 5 minutes would have counted as a signed death wish to a lot of people on this country road, including my dad. We're not a part of your stupid HOA. We live 2 effing miles down the road from it, and if we want to spray paint our trees red and grass blue, we can. So turn around, close the gate behind you, and F off." She started to talk, so I slammed the door in her face and watched her leave from the window. A few months later, a friend of mine moved into that neighborhood and told me that my dad and his property is regularly posted on their Facebook page as unfriendly and dangerous. Anyways, I hope someone gets a laugh. Haha, finally someone really told the HOA to eat A. I gotta say, your story had me laughing out loud. Who knew a couple purple gate posts could cause such a stir? I'm glad you stood your ground and put that C lady in her place. And now your dad and his property are labeled as unfriendly and dangerous? Sounds like the HOA needs to chill out and take a chill pill. Thanks for the laugh. Keep being a bad A. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.